You're now tuned into the Lady Charmaine live show, and I'm your host, Lady Charmaine. And as always, I have another great interview for you today. Now, when you think of Hollywood, celebrities, real estate, and love, this young lady just might come to mind. And I tell you who she is coming up right after this. My guest today sells high-end real estate to celebrities with deep pockets, all while looking for love. And she is here today to talk about her new reality show airing on VH1, Love and Listings. Help me welcome to the Lady Charmaine live show, Miss Ajani Scott. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here and discuss everything. Thank you for having me.
Yo, you are so welcome. First, I got to ask you a question, girl. How are you spending your summer? How's your summer going so far?
My summer has been work. Is it summer? I have no idea what's going on outside these work walls. I have been working. I haven't taken any trips. I've barely been to the beach. I really pushed back all my fun to 2020 because I am just buried in work. It's been a lot, but I feel so good about everything that I've been working on, and it's been worth it.
Well, that's a good problem to have when you've been that busy. You don't even know what season it is.
I don't know.
How many of us wish we had that problem? I was reading about you, and I read that you are a Spanish singer. Is that true?
That is very true. That's actually one of the things that I'm working on right now is my music. I've been singing in Spanish since I was 9 years old. I'm not of any Latin descent, so it's a little bit different. When I tell people that, they're surprised because I'm a Black woman, but I just have such a love for the music. And once I heard that as a little girl, I said, I want to do that. And I dedicated a lot of time and hours and practicing into learning how to speak the language and sing the language correctly. And it's actually my number one passion. It's what I've wanted to do my whole life. And I'm glad to be getting back to that because I feel like sometimes life and bills and just everything can get in the way of your dreams sometimes. And it's important to circle back to what you're really passionate about. Not to say I don't have a passion for real estate because I definitely do, but as a little girl, I was not playing with little houses and telling them to people. I was doing karaoke in my room singing in Spanish. So I'm very glad to now have the latitude to do both.
Now, will we get a chance to see you on the show singing Spanish?
No, I'm not this season. I'm not singing on the show because at the time of filming, it was not something that I was pursuing. But since we've ended the filming for this season, I have gotten back into the singing, working on some new music. I'm doing some covers and just getting myself out there and getting people used to knowing me not just as a realtor, but as a Spanish singer as well.
Well, that's good to know. Absolutely good to know. A Black woman that fell in love with Spanish, and I would love to hear you sing. I'm sure you got a beautiful voice, but I won't understand a word you saying, but I'm sure it's going to be pretty. She's going to be nice.
Yes, I love it. It's good, and I just have so much respect for the culture and the language. Of course, I love my Black people, and I love my hip hop and R&B and rap music too. But it's just something I always tell people I was like Mexican in my past life or Cuban. I had to be because, and it's just kind of trickled down into this life because it is just there for me, and I love it, and I cannot wait to express myself in that way with the world.
Did you ever have anybody talk about you like, who is this Black girl thinking she Mexican or thinking she's Hispanic? Have you ever had anybody say anything like that?
You know what? As a child, yes. Unfortunately, some of my peers were like that, but that was like when I was in middle school and maybe a little bit in high school. But after that, I didn't really have that issue. People were more like surprised in a good way, like, wow, she's really talented. This is very cool that she's doing this. This is really different. And I was very accepted by the Hispanic community too, because They appreciate when you, as American or a Black American, want to learn their culture and their language, because often it's vice versa, and they're having to Americanize themselves and learn English. And so when someone makes the effort to step out of their American zone, if you will, and learn their culture and language, they're very receptive of that, and they love it.
Okay.
So it has been mostly a very positive experience for me to embrace that culture.
Now, I will put you on the spot with this one. Can you give us a little taste of maybe one of your favorite songs or one of your covers?
Actually, sure, I can. This is a cover that I'm working on. It's called Cien Años, which means 100 years. And it's a love song. It's a sad love song about waiting for your loved one or your lover for 100 years. And I'm actually remaking it. It's been remade several times, and I'm going to do a hip hop version of it, actually, working on that now. So it's going to be kind of something that the hip hop community can vibe to and the Latin community. So obviously I don't have the music, but I'll give you a little bit of snippet of the singing.
Okay.
Okay. Pasaste a mi lado con gran indiferencia. Tus ojos ni siquiera voltearon hacia mí.
Okay, you got a pretty voice. Yeah, you got a pretty. I didn't know what to expect, but you have a very nice voice. Okay, I see why you were accepted. Thank God you sound good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That means so much. Thank you.
Yeah, I
so
totally
expect
agree.
Lots more from me in that department. I'm excited to kind of mix the cultures, the hip hop, the R&B, and the Spanish, which is really big right now. I mean, you have songs out that are doing that already, and I think it's going to go even further. So it's a great time to be mixing those genres.
Absolutely. Well, now you're doing something really big. How we all came to know you was on the show, VH1's Love and Listings. Tell us about the show and how did they find you?
Love and Listings is a show about real estate agents in Los Angeles selling high-end luxury real estate to celebrities. And the show is about real estate agents who are friends, colleagues, and even more in some situations. And the show just talks about basically the struggles that we have in our personal lives and the struggles that we have in our business lives, and how we overcome them and how we work together to support each other. It's really a diverse cast. We all have different backgrounds, different ethnicities, and we all have different stories. And I think that is important to show. We have different ways how we got into the business, different ways how we're staying in the business, different ages, and it really is a representation of a lot of different people. You have the Black women, you have the young women, you have the Black men, you have the ex-football player, you have the ex-lawyer. You just have so many facets going on that I think it really is reality. It really, really is reality. It's not scripted. It's not fake. These are things that we really go through in our personal and business lives. And I really respect the show for that. I do.
So how did they find you to do this show, and why did you decide to do it?
I was found via my Instagram, actually. I was posting quite a bit on my Instagram, and I was hashtagging LA real estate. And it just turns out that the producers of the show were actually searching those hashtags, and they needed a young Black woman to cast on the show. And I was contacted by the producer, and he said, I'm doing this show, you should come audition. This was not something that I was seeking. It literally came to me, which is why I decided to proceed with the show. And so I ended up going in for the audition. And several auditions later, I actually made the cast of the show. And I really went for it because, again, it wasn't something that I sought. It was something that found me. And so I felt it was meant for me. And the other thing is that I love the fact that I could tell my true story. I love the fact that I could talk about the trials that I have being a realtor and getting to where I am right now, and not just the glitz and the glamour of it, because it is such a hard profession. And I'm glad that I was able to showcase that part of it, because something I always say, I think it's so important to show the climb to the top, not just the view from the top. And I'm not saying that I'm just on the top of the world right now. I'm still definitely climbing, but I think sometimes we forget to show the struggle. And I was very happy that I was able to show that on this show.
Were you familiar with any of the other cast members that are on the show?
I had never met any of them until a little bit before we started filming. We had some time to kind of get to know each other and build rapport. But as you'll notice on the show, I'm a little bit of the outsider, the outcast. They had relationships before I entered the picture. So it was definitely a process getting to know them and trying to fit into the world that they kind of had already established with each other.
Because I see you and Taylor, you guys hit it off right off the bat when you met her.
Right. The match made in heaven. Yes. Oh, my goodness. That is just her being young and frustrated. And I do believe in hindsight that she was just misunderstood. She's young. She had some growing up to do, and she had some misguided anger that I believe that she's since dealt with. So, you have to be able to forgive people and understand them and give people chances. Even though we didn't hit it off at first, we are in a much better place now. And hopefully the show will show that.
Okay. And my question for you, you had Sean Kingston as a client, and that ended up falling through. What actually happened there?
Well, that is exactly what happened, what was shown. It turned out that he did not have the funds to back the deal that we thought he had. Unfortunately, and I'm in no way trying to put his financials on blast or degrade him or anything like that, because this is something that honestly happens quite a bit in real estate. Things happen, and a deal isn't a deal until it's closed. And there are so many things that can go awry along a real estate transaction that can dead the deal. And that being one of my first celebrity client situations and opportunities to make enough money to really change my life, it was a heartbreaker for me. It wasn't just a broken deal; it was a broken heart for me as well. But you have to go through those things. That's part of the job, and that's why real estate agents, when they stick with it, are so successful, because you're able to power through those heartbreaks and those disappointments. So it's just part of the job at the end of the day. It really is. So now, I was glad to be able to learn that lesson and move on.
Ajani, do the heartbreak come because you were expecting that money and you had already spent that money in your head?
100%. And that was a lesson that I had to learn. It was like, as soon as I had just an inkling of the potential amount of commission I could make, it was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I had really spent that money in my head, and I really thought that my life was going to change for the better. But I'm so glad I went through that, because now I know not to get excited about $1 until it actually hits your bank account. I don't care if escrow is supposed to close, tomorrow. You do not open up that champagne bottle. You better not do it, because if it's not in your account, then it hasn't happened and there's nothing to celebrate just yet. So I'm glad that happened the way it did, honestly, so that I could learn that lesson, and that goes with anything, not just in real estate, but just in life and in business. I mean, people will sell you the moon. They will, promise you the moon and stars, and you cannot take that at face value until that money actually hits your account. You just can't do it, because you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
Yep, because I close on my new house next Friday, so that is so true.
Oh, good for you. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Now, we know that things, Los Angeles is not as hot as Sacramento, but things was heating up on the show between you and Andrew. So what really went down after the cameras went off? Please do tell.
Um, okay, well, without spoiling the show,
Okay.
um, you know, you make good decisions in life and you make bad decisions in life. And I pride myself on being a woman who celebrates and shares the good decisions that I make. And the bad decisions I learn from. I try very, very hard not to repeat, and I move on. And I think that is something that's very necessary it's a necessary skill to have in life. So with that being said, I have moved on from that situation.
We don't
You
know what
will have to
happened.
watch the show to see exactly what transpires between Andrew and I. But currently, I have moved on from that situation. He has moved on from that situation. I wish him nothing but the best. And, you have to just be strong and not beat yourself up too much when you make those bad choices, because as a human, that's inevitable. So I just want everybody to kind of take that when they watch the show.
So this was a real situation that happened then. It sounds like it was really real, not made for TV. It was real.
Not at all. Not at all. These are all real situations. That was definitely a real situation. That was something that happened. And it was brought to the light because I decided to tell my truth. He unfortunately did not, but that's none of my business at this point. So I rest my head and I sleep well at night knowing that I stood in my truth. Whether my decisions were right or wrong, I stood in my truth, and that's how I can sleep at night.
Okay. Now, here's my next question for you. In the real world, can you really pass your real estate test and work with a Hollywood real estate agent right off the bat?
In the real world, that is not ideally the way it happens. You usually start off really small, but anything is possible. And especially living in LA, a lot of your business transactions are going to be about who you know. And what you know is secondary to that, unfortunately and fortunately, living here. So if you can network properly, then your experience can sometimes take a back seat to the opportunities that you are presented with. So in the real world, is that possible? 100%. Is it probable? No, but it's LA and anything can happen. And that's why I love this city.
Okay. Now, what are some of the skills you need to possess to be a high-end agent?
You need to possess professionalism. You need to possess, I suggest, a good foundation. And what I mean by that is a team that's going to be able to help you with these transactions, because all real estate agents go through different things as they go through different transactions. So they learn different things. So it's very important to surround yourself with other seasoned agents so that when you come across something, you have them to refer back to. How do I handle this? What's the best way to go about that? Or if they foresee something that you don't see coming, you need that support, because at no point in your real estate career do you know everything. So you, especially out the gate, need the support of other seasoned realtors. You also need to really persevere and be very patient and stick with it, because there's going to be a whole lot of no's before there's a yes. And you need to have the strength and the backbone to push through those no's to get to that yes. Keep your eyes on the prize and just remember that all the no's are only getting you one step closer to the yes. And you can't be discouraged. You can't let yourself stay down too long. You got to get back in the game, because that's part of it. The discouragement is actually more than the winning, honestly, especially in the beginning. So you need to be thick-skinned and strong and not take things that don't go your way personally. It's not necessarily that you're incompetent or incapable as a business person or as a real estate agent, but it's just a part of the business. It's a part of the actual game. And in order to win the game, you got to stay in it.
Good point. So what is the highest price you've sold so far?
Ooh, do I have to disclose that?
We don't
That
we,
is
we don't know whose house it was.
right. That's true. Okay. Um, the highest one so far is $2 million.
Wonderful. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
That's great.
Yes. Yes. I prayed and visualized and manifested this. That's another thing that's a key in any business, I believe, is to meditate, manifest, pray, visualize. You can't just work hard. Working hard is a huge portion of it, but you really need to be in touch with your creator, God, whoever you pray to, the universe, and that energy to attract things to you. So I'm definitely a firm believer in not just going after things, but attracting them to you. So that was something that I worked very hard to not only make happen for myself, but to attract that to me as well.
Good point. I love that. And lastly, I want
Thank
people
you.
to know, what are you doing outside of music in real estate? Do you do anything else? What else do you have going on?
I actually am working on a modeling contract as well. That's something that I've also always wanted to do. I'm about 4'10.5", so I won't be on anyone's runway, but I do want to do some print modeling, and maybe some endorsements moving forward. So that means I'm living in the gym. I am protein shakes all day. I'm starving. I'm miserable. I'm hangry. I'm all those things. I am all those things every single day. And, everybody in my close circle hates me right now because I'm so mean. No, just kidding. But I'm working very hard to get myself in the best physical shape possible because I do have my height working against me. So I want to be as presentable as possible when it comes to the modeling. And then after that, hopefully a skincare line. I think it's really important to take care of your skin, and your face is the first thing that people see when they meet you. And, sometimes it can be hard to find that right product. And, I'm constantly telling people what I use on my skin because I do get a lot of compliments, and I use very basic products. And I think it's time to share that on a mass level.
Girl, look at you, honey. We have some of the same interests, girl. We got to get together.
Yes. Yes, let's do it. I'm all about it. Networking, and yes, let's do it.
Love it. So if people wanted to follow you on social media, give us your social media handles. Where can they find you?
You can find me on all platforms at Ajani Scott. That's AJANISCOTT.
Wonderful. And again, it was such a pleasure having you on the show. And I want to remind the audience to make sure that you guys tune in on Mondays on VH1 to Love in Listings and check out my girl, Ajani. Girl, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yes, you're more than welcome. Thank you for having me. Tune in. Thank you so much. And everybody have a blessed and productive day.